Hey, and welcome to the MSL Minute Podcast. I am your host, Ashley Armstead. Myself, along with Linda, have created the MSL Minute to bring you the aspiring or experienced MSL, the content and resources we're already providing to our candidates and making it more broadly available and accessible to more people. So tune in to hear tips and perspective from your recruiting friends at SEMbio on all things MSL interviews, applications, and what's happening in the industry. We hope you'll join us for episodes covering a variety of topics, whether you're actively or passively searching for your next MSL role, or just looking for insights to what we're seeing in industry. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to the MSL Minute Podcast. We've got a great topic for you today, talking about all things interviewing tips. We are going to be covering how to organize yourself and how to prepare for the interview process, some things to keep in mind, some things you probably have heard if you've worked with your SEMbio recruiter before. But hopefully some new ideas or ways that you can organize yourself, strategize your preparation process as you head into an interview, which is a cumbersome process when you have a job and are actively employed. Trying to manage the interview process on top of that, I think that is one of the things that our clients really value about us, is we are helping our candidates, helping their candidates to stay organized, keep up with all the scheduling and the scheduling changes and all of the things that go into making that interview actually happen. I think is one of the pieces that our clients really appreciate about us and our candidates appreciate about us, because they have a whole job to manage. Our hiring managers and HR departments, they have lots of other positions to manage in addition to the MSL headcount. So I think that's really where we bring value to our clients and to our candidates when helping them to navigate the interview process. So, whether you're experienced in interviewing deep into your career or you're newer to industry, we've heard it all when it comes to interview blunders. And as your recruiters, we are here to help guide you through the interview process when it comes to the resume, the LinkedIn profile. But getting that in great shape, scheduling, prepping for those interviews, that's part of it too. And it's one of the things I think in the 5 years I've been doing this that I get the most thank yous for, even if they don't get the job or, they maybe take what they've learned in their experience with me and apply it somewhere else. I've gotten calls from, I've a candidate in mind who is a hiring manager now at a company I didn't place him at. But when he was in the interview process, he learned so much through that interview process and was very kind to call me well after the fact and say, thank you for what you did and for what you taught me about how to prepare for an interview, because I do think it actually helped me land the position that I applied for and that he's in currently and was recently promoted in. Yay for him. And so I really love this part of our role because it's something that we can thank you for.
Yeah, so. Likewise, this is a favorite topic of mine, really. Yeah. And for a lot of the same reasons. There's nothing better than walking through the interview process with someone and helping them as they prepare and, organize themselves, that sort of thing, and then having them get the job or just whatever happens, but they're just thankful for what they learned through the process and the steps that we went through with them helped them to learn how to approach other interviews down the line.
So and build confidence.
Yeah,
too.
Absolutely.
When you're prepared, you are going to feel more confident. Actually,
absolutely. And so just seeing how that provides such value to our experienced MSL candidates who maybe are looking for their second, third, fourth role, or they've been in one position for a few years and they're shaking off that interview rust. Or people who are looking to enter the industry. So I'm really excited about this topic. So I'm going to kick it off with a great question here to start things off. But how can MSLs organize their preparation process leading up to an interview?
Yeah, great question. Number one, research your interviewer. Just go ahead and start there. All of the other things that we'll talk more about, some of the tangible research that you're going to do, but start with researching your interviewer. Get a feel for who you're going to be speaking with. If I have a candidate going through an interview process with somebody that I know and am able to clue them in to a little bit about, this person is, super bubbly in their interview style, or, this person is a little more systematic in their process. I love to share those things with the MSLs, whether it's somebody who is kind of more of a thinker or internal processor. I think that's kind of helpful to know as they go into their their interview, what their interviewers is like. So there's that kind of side of the research process that we can help aid in. But the candidates do their own research about their interviewers via LinkedIn. Go to their LinkedIn, pull up their profile, see where they went to school, see where they've worked in the past. One of the things that I will point out to candidates pretty often is the length of time that somebody spent in a company. So, we have one client that we're working with right now, and there were 4 people on this person's interview itinerary, and all 4 of them had been at the company for like more than 5 years, which, our industry is very cyclical. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. And I thought it was interesting that these people had all been with the company for so long. This is something that you uncover when you're in that research process that makes for a great question. Hey, I noticed you all have been here for years. What attracted you to this company? What's kept you there? This is where that question formation process starts to happen. When you uncover somebody's education, where they worked, that is really when you can start to get the wheels spinning on getting yourself into interview mode, what kind of questions you can ask, and making those common connections. Maybe they have publications that really interest you that you are excited to talk to them about. Maybe they reveal something on their LinkedIn about their personal hobbies that you might have a connection with. They're a dog lover, or they're very passionate about rare diseases, or they volunteer for such and such organization that you are also volunteer for. They are a member of the Healthcare Women's Business Association. Something that might offer that common connection. Do that research about your interviewer. You never know what you might turn up there. And it'll get that process started for the conversation that you're going to have. Next, you're moving into understanding the company and the role itself. You're understanding the product, the portfolio, and the competitive landscape. Those are kind of the 3 starting points. So does this product have a package insert that you can read and start to develop that research process? You want to look at the company's portfolio as well. What do they have coming in their pipeline that would be relevant for this particular team? Maybe they're a smaller company, there's only one team. Understanding what's coming for them in their portfolio. One of the things that I thought was really interesting that I learned actually at the HBA meeting that I attended last week was the connection between venture capital or investors and their view on partnerships with other bigger organizations. If you're a smaller company that has a partnership with an AstraZeneca or Janssen, that's really viewed very favorably by investors, which I think signals, a de-risked kind of opportunity. So understanding a little bit about what they have in their portfolio that they might be developing on their own, or that may be in a partnership. Is that product far enough along where that company may have some of their MSLs working on it and the company you're interviewing for? What does that dynamic look like? So doing the research to understand their portfolio, their pipeline, and also what the competitive landscape is. How many competitors are there in this space? What are some of the challenges that they are experiencing, trying to differentiate themselves in the market? Start thinking through these things, learning about these things, educating yourself about what challenges the team might be facing. So you can ask questions about those things, and those questions will signal that you've done your research, done your homework, or maybe there are not competitors in the landscape, and maybe this is a company that will be first to market. All these kinds of things help develop and kind of foster your interest too, as you're learning about the company and the product, and really starting to uncover the information that will let you know, whether this is the right fit for you. So doing your research heading into the interview when it comes to the product and portfolio. If you are a new MSL to the role, especially understanding the role in front of you. What is this role? What is it not? One of the unfortunate pieces of feedback that we've gotten from time to time was, when it comes to aspiring MSL specifically, is I don't feel that they had a good grasp of the role. It was like they had cherry picked some of the elements of the role that they like. One comment or one thought that comes to mind is, "Oh, I love travel." And, that's great because traveling is a component of the MSL role, but it's not what you think it is.
Mhm.
And so really understanding the MSL role, talking to other MSLs who've been doing this for years, and learning the vernacular, learning the language of how MSL speak so that you can communicate that language in the interview process and speak their language to them is so important. And then also, learning the things about the company that differentiate it from one company to the next. So taking into consideration the company size. You don't want to go in to a small company and start peppering them with questions about all these resources and programs and things that will be offered to you when a small company like that is not going to have those
Right.
resources available. A lot of people get their start in big pharmas, which have great training programs and great resources. But if you're interviewing for a small company, you need to realize that a lot of those things probably aren't going to be available to you. And so asking questions about that will demonstrate you as uninformed. You haven't really done your research, or a sort of naivety that you don't want to come across in that interview process. And so understanding that and understanding how this particular MSL role will vary from a traditional MSL role. We have a couple of clients that we've worked with, and they have chosen to choose non-MSL titles for their field medical roles. There's one in particular that's coming to mind that called all of their field people medical leads. But they were very clear to communicate to us that this is not an MSL role. This is above and beyond an MSL role. Somebody who's 2 years into their MSL career is not going to be a fit here because this operates more like a medical director type role. Each person within this medical lead team was doing something completely different than the other members of the team. And so really understanding what the role is, how it's differentiated from your run-of-the-mill traditional MSL role is important too. If you are somebody who's experienced in your career, maybe looking outside of just those kind of traditional MSL roles. So really understanding how this role differs from other companies, other positions that you may be looking at and interviewing for, and making those distinctions as well is very important when you are preparing for the interview, so that you can ask smart and intelligent questions that demonstrate, an understanding of how this position is different. And that's, I think, one of the things that we really try and touch on when we're calling candidates about positions is, hey, so-and-so, hey, Linda, you and I have had lots of conversations over the last year about how your desire is to get involved with more of this piece over here. And this company has communicated to us they really like somebody with managed care experience, let's say. I think that you should take a look at this position. I think it might be, even though this is what the title is, this is what they're telling us is going to be an element of the role. And tell me you're interested in this. Let's explore this. Really taking that time to understand the differences between what you see on paper, what a traditional MSL role job description looks like, and what that position is actually asking for and looking for, can be hugely helpful to prepare you going into that.
These are great points, and I love everything you said. And I know you can probably attest to this, but as recruiters, we're constantly having those conversations with our candidates to just urge them to prepare themselves for those STAR type questions, or urge them to dig deeper into the company and pipeline product info so that they can dig up those really insightful questions so they aren't coming across as uninformed. We're constantly having those conversations with our candidates, really just trying to push them into the right direction for how to just shine in that portion of the interview process. So those are a lot of the research skills, things like that we try to lead our candidates through just in how to be prepared. But when we're talking about soft skills, what are some of the tips that you can give candidates more in the soft skill area as they're preparing for an interview?
Great question. Humility is so important, expressing interest. I had a scenario where I had a candidate that was interviewing against another candidate that by all means on paper should have been the top STAR candidate. But through the course of the interview process, specifically in the presentation portion, um, the one who ended up getting the job was not the person who on paper should have gotten it. It was the person who you could tell just by the delivery of the presentation, by the way they expressed their interest, that they were more prepared. They were more invested in the interview process. And almost in a way, like the other candidate had maybe thought that they had it in the bag because I'm working for a direct competitor, didn't have a non-compete in that scenario, but I'm working for a direct competitor. You guys want me. I'm the best person for this job, obviously. Certainly not that egotistical, but the company felt that, even though this other person really makes more sense for us, this person did the work. It came through very clearly in the interview process, and they weren't shy about their interests. Really being expressive about your interests is so important. We encourage candidates all the time. This is not the time to be coy about your interests in a company. This is not like a dating relationship where you've kind of hold it back and play it cool. Like, express your interests, especially with our clients. I feel we work with a lot of smaller, more mid-sized companies that are filled with people who are treating their company and the opportunity this person is interviewing for like their own special little pet project, and they really look for that excitement and interest about what they're doing. I have this one HR gal that I work with, and she describes her company as building the plane while they're flying it. I know it's an analogy we use all the time, but she just so desires for candidates to share that enthusiasm and interest that they have about what they're doing and the platform that they're creating as an organization. And that's what a lot of those HR calls for are right out the gate is where's that enthusiasm and interest? Are the reasons that you're giving for why you're interested in that company generic, something that anybody could give? You can't fake interest, right? And so having genuine enthusiasm is so important. Having humility, approaching the interview process. Yes, you are interviewing them, but they're interviewing you also. And this is a sneak peek of what it's going to be like to have you on their team. So having humility is so important. And I think some of the feedback that is hard to deliver, but does come up, is that people can be a little bit too verbose, or they can even be interrupters too. And so, we talked a little bit in our presentation episodes about recording yourself in the presentation. But, taking some of the STAR behavioral questions or some of the situational questions that come up a lot. Tell me about a time where you had this experience with a KOL. Maybe take us some time to walk through those with a MSL mentor of yours, looking for that feedback. Am I verbose? Am I succinct in the right way? Am I providing the level of detail that's appropriate? Because that's a piece of feedback that we get too is, we ask a lot of situational questions in our interview process, and this particular candidate, they just didn't really give like detailed examples. They were just very generic in their responses. So making sure you're finding a good balance of providing enough detail but not being too verbose is hugely important. And then lastly, I'd say being too casual. We have some clients that we work with. I love our clients. We work with fantastic people. And there's one company that I have in mind that a lot of the feedback that we get, I'm sure you know who I'm thinking of, is that they're very conversational. And so people get into the interview process and they feel like they're hanging out, having a beer with their best buds. And sometimes that kind of environment can almost produce a feeling of, oh, this is casual, I can relax and whatnot. But you don't want to fall into the trap of becoming too casual, because it can be, and it can be very easy when you're talking to great people, and it can be tempting to get too casual and lose sight of the fact that you are interviewing. And so it's important to find that balance of being real and being authentic, but still being professional. And we've had situations where candidates got a bit too comfortable for an interview situation, and it cost them the role. And so really thinking about that. And this is an area I think where we provide value to our candidates as well, in being able to share past experiences with them. Hey, this person is more conversational in their interview style, or hey, this person is more systematic in their process. They're an internal processor. So be warned that if you're not getting a lot of warm, fuzzy feelings from the interview process, this is not an indication of their interest. Don't let that hurt your confidence, because that's just how they are as an interviewer. I think those things can be helpful for candidates to think through, and we try and help them help provide that insight where applicable, to help somebody feel more confident in the interview process, because confidence, of course, is key. And so these are, I think, some of the soft skills that we really coach around and really encourage people around, because I can really tell almost in the first conversation when I've been talking to somebody and, yeah, I'm interested, I'd love to see some more information on the position. You send them the info, and they write you back, call you back, say, yeah, I'm interested. Okay, great. Tell me why. And then they've got to like kind of fumble for an answer. Like, well, what's going on here exactly? Like, why are you interested? It's those conversations where I get a little bit nervous that they're not going to be able to express their interest well in the interview process. And so taking that extra step to really help articulate and develop your interest is so important, because those kinds of things and how you express your interest can cost you the job in a lot of scenarios. So those are my tips. I hope they are helpful. And for more tips specific for the aspiring MSL category, we're actually going to be having Corey on, who is one of the recruiters here at SEMbio, who has placed kind of an extraordinary amount of people in their first role. And with lots of repeat customers, by the way, people she placed 3 years ago who unfortunately got laid off or whatever the situation was, that came back to her for help. And so her experience helping people find their first MSL role, I think, is really valuable and was really valuable to that particular discussion. So we'll be having that episode coming up with Corey Latanzi.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what she has to say. She's our resident go-getter in the office. So
yes,
she'll have some good input.
She is going to be the perfect person to talk to us about this topic. So I'm excited for it. Had to give a little plug for our next episode, but thanks for joining us. And if we can be of any assistance, any help as you're preparing for your interviews, please shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you liked what you heard and want to spread the love, please do so. Share the link, let your friends know, and connect with us on LinkedIn. If you'd like more information on today's topic, please feel free to reach out. We do have some helpful resources we'd be happy to share. And of course, be sure to check back for more of our upcoming episodes.